I've never done nothing like that. You know, I started pleading with him. As he advanced towards me, he was only about 3 feet away. As he was coming towards me, he lifted one of his arms. It was right or left, I can't remember, but he put his hand on my head, and he tells me to lick it. And he's using an authoritative tone, no different than if he was telling me to pick up a cigarette butt or to make my bed or go to chow. It was, he was ordering me to lick it. And anyway, he forced my head down there, and he had his other hand down there, and he ejaculated on my face, my mouth, and he told me, go put the Visqueen out. I left the tool room, and I just started working on the Visqueen. If I were placed in this same situation in what we refer to as the free world, I could have simply walked away. Or if he would have gone to place his hands on me, I could have defended myself. I could have broke his jaw. All this was going through my mind. I mean, thoughts just went, I mean, when something like that happens and you don't expect it to happen, and it's just there, and it's all of a sudden it's not happening like you thought it would happen in prison, another inmate, you know, to where you could, you know, defend yourself or go down fighting or go down, you know, or die, you know. That's what you tell yourself is nobody's ever going to do that. But when it's somebody standing in a uniform and all you see is sergeant stripes and a whistle hanging there and an ID and these are the people that run your life, I didn't know what to do. The only thing I kept thinking was another 15 years. If I hurt this man, I'm going to be in prison for another 15 years. Nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's ever going to believe this. If he's capable of doing something like that, he could pull drugs out of his pocket and said, look at what look what I found on you. You know, ripped his shirt and said, you know, you just assaulted me. My work squad sergeant, Sergeant McLemore, who I had a great deal of respect for. He was my drill instructor, father, all in one. And Sergeant McLemore told me, he says, we're going to get that SOB. He says, I believe you. He says, I knew something wasn't right about him. I knew there was something there. I'm going to get him. Don't you worry about it. I'm going to get him. And as soon as I knew Sergeant McLemore was in my corner, I felt a great weight lifted from me. But I can't tell him exactly what's happening. It's like me sitting down like telling my father that, you know, that something like this has happened. You just can't tell him.
Come stir my memory again.
Mindy's father, David Mendenhall Sr., was a trucker and a guitar player.
Show me, help me remember all the good times. Help me forget all this pain. Come stir my memory again. I was usually home 2 days out of the week. And of course, a big part of that, I was catching up on some sleep. Yeah, you might as well say I really wasn't there, but I didn't study on it as to what effects it was having.
Mindy's grandmother helped raise him. She brought him into the ways of the Holiness Church.
Yeah, these 50-pound bags, David Jr. not here to do them for me, so I have to get them hauled back here. I have to keep my feet clean. Here, Chicky.
Ardith agonized over what to do when her grandson first went to prison.
There we go. And he was afraid to go to the authorities because they had threatened him. And he didn't know what to do, so he called me. He was nearly to a nervous breakdown, and he wasn't able to eat and keep it on his stomach. And he'd had a homosexuals there and so forth. I called a lieutenant immediately and had moved David to a cell to himself.
And many nights I remember walking back to my dorm after they cleared the count, and I'd cry on the way, you know, asking myself, how would I get into this, you know? And sometimes I'd ask God, how could this happen? Because it's something at the time I didn't understand at all.
And I believe that today that we have taken out this service here to ask God to help our brother David Mendenhall, who has been in trouble and served. How many years has he served?
It's going on 6 years.
We don't know. We don't judge. But how many of you know probably that's enough time? How many of you know that God knows how to deliver? God knows how to set people free. God, then you know how to deliver David Mendenhall. God, we pray for him, Jesus. God, that you would help him.
You feel it clear through your core. And those kind of experiences, being pimped out and the homosexual activity and such as that he's had to deal with in there, I honestly, sincerely hope it's something that he's just had to adapt to that will go away on its own, that he doesn't enjoy, that when he gets out he can put behind him and not have to talk about it or bring it up.
Sure would be nice to have David Jr. home by myself and not as young as he used to be. And they had everything the baby could possibly want. The church and all gave him a beautiful shower. And everything seemed to be going great. But he would just work to death. He says, Grandmother, he hardly knew what happened because he was half awake and all. But he bumped himself, kind of lost his balance. He threw the baby back on the bed. They brought it against him as child abuse and murder. First manslaughter, and then they called it murder.
If he's learning things that he should be learning from some of these prison daddies or whatever, wonderful. I hope the things he's learning in there that a person doesn't need to know, he forgets or doesn't take to heart.
BPS is on her stomach, standing for Black Peace Stone, and she's holding a dope sack over here on this side of her arm. My partner Mark, and that's my partner Silk. On this side here, she had my mother Betty, my sister Brenda, my grandmother Alberta, and my nephew Lai.
9, 10. Relax.
J.G., Mark's partner, got busted for burglary. J.G. was born in Pleasant City, a dangerous slum in the heart of West Palm Beach.
I grew up in a family of 9 brothers and 4 sisters. My father, he left, you know, when I was like 9 years old. My mother, you know what I'm saying, because I was the only child and the things that I was getting involved in, I mean, I was her baby. So she brought me up here to the Dothan, Alabama. And I started feeling my way around and found out they had disciples and they had Crips, but they didn't have many Bloods. So I started the Black Peace Stone Blood Nation in Dothan.
I sit back and reminisce on all my broke days, my starting coke days. When I entered the premise, some man you told me no days. Sipping on Thunderbird and Kool-Aid, cold on this boat day. Feeling like God, y'all. Just waiting with a throat day. From a junkie to a baller to a rider.
I shot a guy in the project. He was the opposite gang member, and he disrespected me. So I shot him.